the mother of Buddha, everyone was very happy about the birth of the purest one. But, 2 days after his name-giving ceremony, Devi Maha Maya died of illness. Everyone was sad, including King Śuddhodana. Wise men previously advised King to keep Siddhartha out of any pain and discomfort. They had predicted that if the prince saw someone old, someone sick, a dead person, and a monk, he would want to leave the palace and become a monk himself, instead of being a prince. Listening to them, his feelings started horrifying him. The queen's sister Prajapati Gotami took care of the baby prince with as much emotion and tenderness as if he were her own son. Prince Siddhartha was a healthful and delightful boy. He liked to learn and found it easy to study and was the most skillful in his class and the ablest at games. He was always thoughtful to others and was beloved among his friends. This is the most innocent part of the life history of Gautam Buddha story. From childhood, Siddhartha was different from others. In the age of being playful, he started noticing the sufferings and hardship of life. When he was too small, he felt pity for the small creatures around him. One day one of his friends was trying to hurt a snake. Siddhartha stopped the kid from hurting the snake and advised him to stop being cruel to creatures. Siddhartha saves the swan. Another instance when he saw his cousin's brother hurting a swan. His brother Prince Devadatta shot a swan with an arrow, but Siddhartha took the swan, provided all his attention and care. When the swan started getting better, he let it fly in the sky. One afternoon his father took him to the annual ploughing festival. The king began the ceremony by starting the first pair of exquisitely decorated bullocks. Siddhartha sat down under a rose apple tree and saw everyone. He marked that while people were blissfully enjoying themselves, the bullocks had to work terribly hard and plough the field. They did not look happy at all. He also witnessed the life cycle of creatures, how a lizard ate an ant, then it is eaten by a snake, and the snake is thereafter eaten by an eagle. He assumed that all the pleasure we behold in our life is just for some period. It gradually finishes up with suffering. When Siddhartha saw what's happening all around, he sat under a tree and started thinking deeply. When King and the maid saw him sitting under a tree, cross-legged in deep meditation, they started worrying about his future. King decided to make a place full of joy and comfort for Siddhartha inside the palace. The king did not want his son to think about the deep things in life too much, because he remembered that the wise men had predicted that his son might one day want to leave the palace and become a monk. But this did not stop Siddhartha from thinking about the sufferings and unhappiness that he noticed around him. Siddhartha grew up to be a handsome young man full of strength. To stop Siddhartha from thinking about the outer world, the king arranged his marriage to his beautiful cousin, Princess Yasodhara. As per the traditional belief, Siddhartha had to prove his worth before her parents. They organized a ceremony in which Siddhartha was being told to tame a wild horse. Siddhartha tamed the horse not by beating it, as some suitors might, but by talking to the horse to calm it and stroking it gently. Yasodhara wanted to marry the prince, and no one else. They were married in a great ceremony. To stop the prince from thinking about unhappiness or leaving home, King Śuddhodana created a pleasure palace for Siddhartha and Yasodhara. Dancers and singers were asked to entertain them, and only healthy and young people were allotted into the palace and the palace garden. The king did not want Siddhartha to know that everybody gets sick, grows old, and eventually will die. But in spite of the king's efforts, the prince was not happy. He wanted to know what life was like for people who lived outside the palace walls.